All right, I am happy to be joined with President and CEO of Minaean SP, Mervy Pinto joins us. Mervy, it's great to have you on the Dales Report. How are things?
Great, Dale. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So a lot of my obviously viewers are going to find out or ask the question, what's with this company? Who is Minaean SP? So before we get into why it's garnering so much interest, the first question I'd like to ask is if you could give my viewers just a quick overview as to what you guys do and what you focus on and why this company is garnering a lot of attention.
Well, Dale, I mean, ironically, we started the company way back in 2001, innovating a light gauge steel construction system. Just six of us joined together and sort of went into a program for providing affordable housing to the global markets, and our focus primarily was India, and that's where we launched our light gauge steel construction systems. We had great orders coming up those days. The steel prices were down. It helped the company grow quite a bit. We had sort of support from the government of Canada, Export Development Canada, supporting us to put up 3 plants, production units in India to produce modular buildings. We had a great deal going till the so-called the crisis struck in 2008, where the construction industry went through a tailspin. Right. So we had to shut down our plants in India and come back and regroup, restructure. But the confidence established with Government of Canada was great. So we then moved into Ghana, started looking at projects there. But that is the background of the company. But seeing the aggressive approach and our ability to perform with the support of Government of Canada, we of course got into the radar of this huge group from India, one of the largest EPC contractors in India, called Shapoorji Pallonji Group, currently with revenues exceeding 7 billion. They looked at us in 2014. We started with an MOU, but they were more anxious or more interested into taking a controlling stake into the company, to have projects in Canada, in North America, and globally, through primarily the support of the Canadian government. And that's how we started.
So that's great. So I get, like, when you outline that, my interest, obviously the association with the Canadian government, you're obviously well established with a partner, obviously in India, which has annualized sales of $7 billion. So this is where the story is garnering a lot of interest. So according to your up-to-date investor deck, your company has both a short and long-term prospects pipeline, which has an aggregated contract value of just under $2 billion. That's US, by the way. And Canadian regulations stipulate that a minimum of 30% of project revenues come back to the Canadian-run company, which are big margins. So first off, I'd like to know how many projects in total are currently proposed to give you a contract value of $2 billion? And saying that, what kind of impact would it have on the company should even 1 or 2 or 3 deals close to your top and bottom lines?
I mean, the order book itself, I mean, I would say most of these contracts are in development, out of which 2 are getting to a closure practically by the end of this year or early next year. But the fact is that these 2 contracts alone are valued around $300 million. Or if you add the second phase of the first project contract, it goes up to $500 million. So obviously there itself, we are hoping to have this order book with us within the next, let's say 12 to 18 months of about $500 million. And hopefully we should be able to progress on that basis. And while that happens, the other contracts which are under development will take shape and move forward. So, overall, as I said, there are short and long-term prospects. The short-term prospects are coming to a closure, and we are pretty excited that things are, finally taking shape and are going forward the way we would like to have happened maybe a few years back. But again, don't forget, these are large contracts. Right. They take a long time, and that's exactly how we are intending to progress.
So a current market cap valuation of around $20 million, and you're looking at short-term pipeline of projects that could be around $250 million. So let's talk about your pipeline and let's learn a little bit more. Walk me through the process to how these deals come together. And are you at the point now where all the background with the Canadian development agencies and relationship building is finally starting to materialize?
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's a combination of a lot of sort of pieces of puzzle put together, like our parent, which is 156-year-old corporate. They practically have about offices in Africa in about 15 countries, and we have just established offices in South America now. But those 15 countries, they have been operating for the last 20 years. So we have business development cells practically in 60 countries globally. And
Okay.
all these cells sort of support the program or the projects, what we bring to the table or what they bring to us, and we take it to the government of Canada and make sure government of Canada is able to support them.
It's incredible. So many investors, and I'm sure you get this question asked a lot, may think this sounds great, but how confident is the company from actually closing any of these projects? So what's your response to that?
I mean, see, as I said, the government of Canada wouldn't be spending their time and efforts into projects which are not coming to a closure. They definitely, and all these projects, there's a large amount of due diligence done on these projects before we really embark our time and effort. So obviously, most of these projects we went through the proper channels. The company, the parent allocates a certain part of the human resources to develop these because they just don't happen overnight. We have to start a project, the
Right.
government needs it, we get into a conversation, communication, and then we develop it, the drawings are done, the costing is done. It's a process. It takes
Right.
months and years.
Of course. I want to learn more about your strategic partnership with Shapoorji Pallonji International, otherwise known as SP Group, which owns 46% of your company and has annualized revenue, as we said earlier, of $7 billion USD, I might add. For those that don't know, SP is a huge player in the international construction market, which lends credibility, obviously, to Minaean to carry out the projects from any deal. So if you can, walk me through your relationship with them, including its sizable equity position it has within the company.
As I mentioned to you, in 2016, when they took the stake into our company, the whole purpose was to develop these government-to-government contracts where Minaean, along with a Canadian SPV partner, would be developing these projects and then subcontracting them to our parent in Dubai, which does the operations of most of these projects.
Okay.
So obviously, to the business development part is practically handled in close liaison with this group in Dubai with our own company, and we have a very strong relationship there to support our company or the projects that are coming on the line. And obviously, it is a matter of for them also. It's a matter of delivering to the satisfaction of the client, because the government of Canada is involved. Government of Canada puts their neck into the noose by guaranteeing the performance on these contracts. So all said and done, it is very. They are pretty excited, I would say, to support and expand on this model that we are building.
Yeah. 46% of the company, that's a large shareholder. So one thing I'd like to add is that Minaean actually has a clean table and tight float with around 58 million shares outstanding and little need, obviously, to dilute existing shareholders due to your learning operating model and backing of, obviously, the SP Group. So let's focus on forward outlook. How does this company look if and when you do land one of these contracts?
Well, it should be a different ballgame altogether. I mean, you can imagine we are practically a penny stock. And when you get into practically our revenues that we are anticipating to grow from maybe 100 million, I would say start with 30 million next year to move into 100 million the following year and grow exponentially thereafter, because landing one project itself will get you into from a meager $1 million of revenues, maybe into a 30 million threshold is a large jump. So obviously the price, the stock price should definitely go up accordingly, in my opinion. And because we have such a large such a possibility of doing that, I'm pretty confident that we are able to deliver.
That's great. I'm going to put you on the spot here. How confident do you feel that you'll land your first project before the end of the calendar year?
I would say the target given to us of this closure of this first contract is practically November. So I mean, and that too, initially it was September, and I'm saying November because I still would like to keep a few months in hand. But that is what the status right now is. The team, the full team, of course, I couldn't make it, but the full team from Dubai and our Ghana offices were in Abidjan last week, going through a workshop to conclude, to decide on the pricing, negotiate on the pricing, start on the contract negotiations. So everything is moving forward as planned. So hopefully we are able to land this contract by the end of the year.
That's great. Last thing I wanted to touch on and clarify is that your news cycle has definitely picked up lately. However, there was also a gap in material news flow for a period leading up to the past couple of quarters. So can you tell us what has changed recently with the company, and what I guess I should say shareholders and potential new investors, what should they anticipate between now and the end of the year?
You see, being a part of such a big group, then you need to follow certain restriction they put forward for you to follow. So obviously they were quite adamant in not letting us put any news releases out until we were pretty close to getting a contract.
Right.
And that is why though we had a neurosciences hospital coming close to award of contract in 2018, 2019, they did not want it till the contract negotiations have started. And having said so, the contract got delayed and now is going back on the negotiation table next year. So that is something which has still to be added on my order book, which I have not done yet as yet, because I need the whole program to start. So we had that large gap because of that. And now that we are getting closer to start of the contract negotiations and closing of this contract, they have given us the go ahead to start making these news releases practically and not create a hype in the market.
It's great. Something we'll be following obviously closely. Your company trades in the Canadian Venture Exchange under the ticker symbol MSP, if anybody wants to learn more. But Mervyn, listen, I know you're busy, but I really appreciate the time connecting with us here today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.